If I was to answer that question now, what type of player would you want back now? I'd love to see someone like Dugarry.
Yeah.
Christophe
Christophe
Dugarry,
Dugarry,
or Forsell, a proper
Yeah.
and at number 9 that can score goals. That's what I think we need now. Those type of players right now. They would be my choices as well. So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, a few days ago, we did a podcast where we answered some questions from fans after a community post we put out a few days before that. In this podcast, we're going to do another one of these. We have quite a few questions and responses from that podcast, and so we're going to look at another batch of questions and stories from fans and give our responses. Really enjoyed the questions from the last ones. I think we got some good questions for this one, so hope you enjoy it. So shall I just go straight into this first question, Matt?
Do it, yeah.
I love this handle. This is a question from Sir Goosalot.
Nice.
Great, absolutely brilliant. All right. The question is, do you think that Blues should prioritise a new contract for Chris Davies and keep up the great work? Keep right on. Short and sweet.
I love Chris Davies, Dad. I think what he's done to our football club has been nothing short of astounding. When you think about it logically, he's lost only 4 competitive league games over the course of a season, and obviously 4 games. Okay, I appreciate that, but I think a lot of Blues fans recently have been voicing their frustration about, sort of creativity and side-to-side football. But I love the guy. I think he's sensational.
I'm going to say no. I don't think it's a priority at all. I think he's contracted until June 2028 at the moment. And, he's doing a great job. Absolutely love him to bits and fantastic. Of course, we want to keep him. But football moves fast. Football moves really, really fast. And we've got until 2028. I mean, it's only 2025 at the moment. So he's still got another 3 years left on his contract. I don't think the club need to rush into it. What do we do? It's 3 years. What do you do? Give him how many extra years? So, and you don't know the way the club are going, do you? And when I say this as well, he could be poached as well potentially. So I don't think there's any major urgency in this. And I think he's already on a long contract. I think 3 years as a football manager is still a lot. So I'm not criticising him at all. I think he's done a fantastic job since he's been here. But I think we still need to see what he can do in the Championship and beyond as well. Mm-hmm. Because I'm being very ruthless in thinking if we want to be successful, then we don't need to tie people down where we don't need to just yet. And of course, if we do progress and we keep doing really, really well, I mean, at the end of the day, we could still get him on a really long contract. But if a big club comes in for him, he's still going to be tempted because that's just life, isn't it? So I don't think we do need to tie him down to a longer contract than he's got at the moment.
I mean, in that context, he becomes more valuable though. The more years on your contract, the more valuable you are, isn't it?
Yeah, and I agree if that was a player, but for managers, that's not negligible, but it's not proportionally the same amount of addition for a manager. So, if you're going to get X amount of million for him, have him on a longer contract, is going to make a massive difference to the amount you get. Whereas a player, it does. So I just think that he's doing a great job at the moment. He's still developing as a manager, but we've got him for another 3 years. So why would you rush into another contract? The club hold all the cards here because he's contracted to us until 2028. And if he does continue to progress well and we get to like 2027, that's the time I think to start looking at another contract. But a lot can happen between now and 2027. So why would the club commit to doing that right at the moment when he's already with us for another 3 years? So my answer to that question is I don't think we should prioritise a new contract for him just yet. Mm-hmm. People may agree or disagree with that. I don't know, but that's what I think. Okay, here's a story. This is a bit of a lengthy story, but I do like this story. This is from Little Herb. But this is my story. Please feel free to share if you want to. I was with my family and going to Birmingham games. At that time was a very rare treat. My first ever game was in 2011, and my mum. With my mum, and my second game ever came 3 years later as a birthday treat when I was 15. I remember getting the shirt and being told you'll need this for October the 25th when we're going to play. I was so excited, and all I wanted to see was a goal and remember to celebrate with my dad, who I'd never really been close with. It was the first time we'd ever been to a football game together, and I think it was the first ever live. Ever live game. Well, I remember the day very well because it was the day that Blues got battered 8-0 at home by Bournemouth. What a game to go to! And what a sight! But I remember after a long trip, which was very quiet on the way home. we got back and my mum asked how the game was. Me and my dad just stopped and looked at each other for a moment and just started laughing. It was a bizarre reaction, but a rare moment where we were on the same page about something. And when we both went on to tell my mum and sister the tragic tale of the day, went through all the goals, we couldn't stop laughing in disbelief. It's actually one of my happiest memories with my dad. I've never had the chance to go with him again, but we both still... we're still stuck by Blues since that. And I think we respected each other a little more after that. So even at the worst of times, the club still managed to bring me and my dad closer together in a way that I'm not sure that anything else could. I think I learned firsthand that day that football is more than just a result. Nice story.
I love that story because it's the bigger picture of football, isn't it? And we often talk, Dad, one of the magical things about Blues is we get to go on the coaches together and have some beers together, and it's the memories you make along the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and the sorrows as well. I mean, 8-0, I mean, you couldn't pick a...
I was going to say, you're not a Blues fan unless you've got a miserable getting hammered experience. Have you? I mean, I think my first one where I left the stadium, kind of similar to that, was when Liverpool beat us 7-0 in the Cup at home.
And remember, it was Barnsley, 4-0 defeat at home in the playoff semi-final. Yeah, I can remember some batterings over the years for Blues. Swindon as well, 4-1 up, and we lost 6-1 at home. That was just a Glenn Hoddle and all that.
That's a Blues story right there, isn't it?
So actually, I wanted to read that story out to everybody because I know for a fact every Blues fan can relate to that story in terms of going to a game where we've had a really bad memory. But actually, what I liked about that story is flip round into nice times with the dad and
yeah. I also remember Man City away Main Road 6-0 to Man City.
Yeah.
Again, we've been.
We could do a whole podcast and be here for 2 hours talking about bad results. But thank you very much for telling that story. I'm sure people relate to that as well.
I like that one.
Next question, Matt. This is from R. Latham 88. Great podcast, guys. Question: do you think the likes of Stansfield, Klarer, and Paik will be in the Premier League next season, with or without us? That's a good question. With or without us?
It is a good question because I think you could throw Dimmy in there as well. They're all sort of hovering around the Premier League calibre. Definitely going to have teams sniffing around certain players. I have no doubt about it.
Laird possibly as well.
Laird on his top form. Laird.
Yeah,
I think a top form Laird could play in the Premier League for sure. I think all those players that you referenced, are destined for a higher level if they want to stay in England, which will be the Premier League. Clearly, we're not hanging around as a club. Tom Wagner wants us in the Premier League as soon as possible. So I hope all those players are with Birmingham in the Premier League. That's my hope. That's my dream. But if that's not in the stars and these players want to move on or teams come in for them, I have no doubt, just coming back to the original kind of, vibe with the question is I think they're all Premier League calibre anyway. So, yes, they will be there, hopefully with Blues.
Mine's the same answer. I want them to be there with Blues. That's the thing I've highlighted, and that it very possibly could happen over the next few years. But every player has a price. No matter what you say, and it's not just about the player having a price, is it? Some players will want to leave them. Look at the Alexander Isak saga.
Yeah,
top quality player with an already fantastic team in Newcastle. Clearly wants to go to Liverpool. So, whether we like it or not, the players do hold all the cards. And if any of these players decide or get an offer from a Premier League club or a top club, then let's not sort of be under the impression or naive enough not to think that they're going to want to go. But I would hope that they can be with us and take us to the Premier League as well.
I mean, for me, Dad, as you said, all those players are capable of going to the Premier League, but there's one in particular who I think is definitely destined to go there. Yeah. Klara's destined to be in the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely.
At some point.
Yeah, I think he's the standout player. Although I wasn't overly impressed with his performance at Leicester, but for consistency, he's the one.
Bigger picture, there's one performance. He's outstanding.
Yeah. But he's definitely got the qualities to be in the Premier League.
If he had pace, he'd be a Champions League defender.
He plays in midfield.
Go on then, right, next one.
Sorry, dad jokes. Okay, Matthew Alsop, thank you for your question, Matthew. Hi guys, love the show. Got a couple of questions. So if you could bring one Blues legend back into the current squad, who would it be and where would they play? And if you had to choose, so we'll do this in two parts, and if you had to choose one stadium in the world for Blues to take inspiration from for our new stadium on the Wheels site, what would you choose and why? Yeah. Cheers, keep right on.
So I've got a couple of answers for the bringing players back. One is just from a pure legend point of view, and the fact that I sadly never got to see him play in front of me. I would love the chance to see Trevor Francis in a Blues kit down St.Andrews scoring a goal maybe. That would be for me one of the ultimate experiences as a Blues fan. But if I'm going to take it from my generation, Dad, looking at the players I grew up with and who I sort of admired and wanted to be, I've got like an amalgamation of two here, but it'd either be Martin Granger or Stan Lazaridis.
Okay.
So Granger would be that solid left back, old school, good left foot on him. Was our set piece maker, wasn't he? Our set piece taker, free kicks, corners. Really good left foot on him. And I just loved the way Stan Lazaridis took it past players. I thought he was fantastic as well. So two different players for two different reasons. And in terms of stadiums, I really like the recent ones which have gone up in England. I like what they've done with the Tottenham Stadium, and I like what they've done with the Everton Stadium as well. So they could kind of, I'm not saying model it on those stadiums, but use inspiration from them. I wouldn't be too upset. And also, if we're going like international huge scope, you've referenced this stadium, Dad, the Allianz, the one in Germany is just outstanding, isn't it? All the bells and whistles on it, the colour changes around the edge of it, and fantastic kind of global international stadium of that is amazing. But I really like what they've done with Everton and Tottenham as well.
Okay, I'm on the first part of the question. If I could bring any players back, and I'm not counting Jude in this because I think that's too much of an obvious answer. Jude Bellingham, plus he's obviously at the moment he's levels above anything really that where we are at the moment. But I'd love I think at some point in his career I'd love to see Jude back at the club. But if I was to answer that question now, what type of player would you want back now? I'd love to see someone like Dugarry. Christophe Dugarry or Forsell, a proper and at number 9 that can score goals. That's what I think we need now. Those type of players right now. They would be my choices as well. We had a similar question, actually. I meant to say this from Zeus Cloud. It was on that question. If you could bring back any players to the club, being realistic, who would you bring back in and why? So it's the same question as the previous one. I've gone for the realistic one there, and I've gone for Dugarry and Forsell.
Dugarry's a good one. In fact, I'd put it out there again. I know you've been watching Blues a lot longer than me. I know you talk about sort of Jose Dominguez, sort of with his pace and stuff. He was in early years of my following the Blues, but obviously you remember 60s, 70s and 80s. I don't quite obviously remember that, but
not quite 60s.
Yeah, true. You'd have been young then, wouldn't you? But in terms of technicality, I think Dugarry is arguably the most technically gifted player I've ever seen down the Blues. And he only played I can't even remember the amount of games he played, but wasn't even.
No, he came in for a very short period of time, but he made such an impact, and he was so creative, you did. But imagine him and Forsell being back in the squad that we've got at the moment, it would make a massive difference, wouldn't it? But in terms of stadiums, I also have gone for the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium a lot. I don't like the Everton Stadium.
Do you not?
No, I don't. To me, and obviously, I'm only going by what I've seen in pictures and that. It just looks a bit bland. I think I'm sure Everton fans will probably watching this and say, "It's our brand new stadium. What are you talking about?" But it just I don't know. Just a little bit bland from what I've, in my opinion.
I think it's harsh to judge it until you've been in it.
Yeah,
because you don't know what the acoustics are like. You don't know whether it's been set up in a specific way. But you're entitled to your opinion just off like looking at it on the telly. I
may when we do go to Everton, I may
like it.
But I may change my mind. But the Tottenham Stadium, I do like the look of. I mean, that looks like it's actually ultra modern, but it feels like a football stadium. And I think that's really hard to do, and I think they've achieved that at Tottenham. So that's the one I would look at modelling our stadium on. Okay, just a couple more actually. So this is in fact actually we finished off with two stories. Actually, this is one from Adrian Fay. Thanks for the story, Adrian. I was at Villa Park in the upper tier of the North Stand on my own. After the Villa's first goal, a guy next to me hugged me, and the second goal hugged and kissed me on the cheek. But when Stern John scored the equaliser late in the game, I forgot where I was and went nuts. Great job the stewards got me out first. God knows if I've still been in hospital till this day. Nice. That is one. Imagine being in the Villa end when you're celebrating the Blues goal. I mean, that is no more suicide. That is a
bigger definition of a death wish.
I know.
Blues in the Villa end or Villa in the Blues end, you could get yourself killed.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I mean, that is a funny story though. But blimey neck. I mean, your adrenaline must have been on a whole other stratosphere and planet. But I remember that goal going in. I was at home because I was a bit younger then, but I remember that goal going in. I remember me in the living room.
Steve Bruce was the manager. He was going nuts on the side. I remember that goal as well.
Because we went 2-0 down, and actually Villa on that day battered us. They had a lot of chances. They just weren't scoring, and the game kind of fizzled out, and then we scored 2 goals. Not the second goal. when it went 2-1 Blues, I think it was like about 50, 60 minutes. But then our last goal was like last kick of the game.
Yeah.
And the place just went nuts. I remember being at home just jumping up and down.
That game as well, because we were 2-0 down. I think most Blues fans had thought we'd lost it, and then we came back really, really well. And to score such late on with an equaliser.
Forsell scored the first goal, and then it was obviously St.Andrews with the equaliser.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I remember, to be fair, it was a goal from Darius Forsell early on for Villa, and then Hitzelsperger, to be fair to him, scored a great goal early second half. And I remember when that Hitzelsperger goal went in, because it was from about 25 yards, I remember thinking, it's not our day today, we're going to lose this game. And then when that Stern John goal went in, oh my word, that was a good day at school the next day.
It makes you, obviously, I like that story as well, because it just reminds Blues fans of the rivalry we have with them, which we know about anyway, but the thought of playing them on a regular basis again, we sort of, we know it's tension and it's nervous, but we want to be back playing Villa again.
They're horrible games though, from a Blues and Villa perspective. I mean, you're just sitting there the whole time with your adrenaline on max, just.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I would have them back for the world. I love them, but I'm just saying it's not a pleasurable experience watching those games. It's actually tense to the level.
It depends how you're playing, but you're right. I mean, you're just waiting for
whenever Villa go over the halfway line, I'm like, no, oh no.
But that's the beauty of football, and that's the beauty of having a rivalry, isn't it? Because there's so much on it, and that's Adrian there. Fair play to you, mate, going in the away end of Villa. I'm sure other Blues fans have done that.
Especially back in the 70s.
Yeah, but maybe if you have, let us know in the comments below, not just Villa, but if you've been in the away end of a...
home end.
So it's a home end of in an away game. So obviously Blues have been away, but you've been in the home end. Let us know your stories as well of that. It's pretty brave to do that in certain situations, particularly at Villa Park. One final story here, which I thought was quite a cute little story, is from Julie Welsh. Thank you, Julie. She says, I kept the photo of Bo Brummie running towards the Tilton in the fog. When you couldn't even see the pitch. Now, the reason I found that story really, really nice is because in me, I just had visions of Braveheart when they're coming out the fog, but then Bo Brummie coming out, So I thought that was a nice little story from Julie there about, obviously keeping these pictures.
I'd like to see the photo. It'd be cool.
Yeah,
somehow.
Yeah, if you've still got the photo, you can get it to us. If you want to email us, Julie, then our email address is bcfcroyalblue@yahoo.com, and maybe we'll put that on let everybody else see it as well. Thanks very much for that. But actually, Matt, looking back at one of the previous questions, there's a slight difference connotation to what we've answered. So let's just quickly have a look at that from Zeus Cloud. I mentioned this when we've just been talking about which Blues legend we bring back into the current squad. But actually, Zeus Cloud's question, I've just realised, if you could bring any player to the club, being realistic, who would you bring in and why? So that's not Blues player, but if you could bring any player to the club. So with that question, are we going to talk about current players or any player? What do you think?
I think any player.
Okay, so if you could bring any player into the club, being realistic, who would it be and why?
So before he moved, I thought Tom Fellows might have been on Blues' radar. A right winger who's brings something a little bit different. I love Tom Fellows. I think he would have been great. But my number one target this season, Dad, is a right winger again. And we spoke about him in the Transfers podcast, which we did recently. And that's Carlos Vicente. He plays for Alaves in Spain. And I think he's just phenomenal. And I'd love to bring him in. He'd be a marquee signing. You're talking 10, 15 million. But I think the start of this season has proven that we need a bit more creativity going forward. Yeah. So I think if we were to get a big signing now coming forward, I'm reading on social media that Chris Davies wants to strengthen the defence and get some more defenders in. But in my opinion, I think we need to focus our resources on creativity, creating chances, a number 10, a right winger, those two positions for me. So someone like Carlos Vicente, I think, would be phenomenal. Tom Fellows, Vicente. Apparently Gus Hamer's up for sale. I love Gus Hamer as well. But for me, Dad, creativity moving forward would be great.
Yeah, I've not really thought about this too much, to be honest, but I agree with the positions that you said. We definitely need a right winger. And people would say, well, we've got Fujimoto at the moment.
And Kumas, I guess, has come in as well. But
yeah, and we've got Scott Wright as well. Yeah. But are they obviously we don't know much about Fujimoto yet because he's still getting up to match fitness. But definitely we need a centre-half. Definitely. I would love Ben Davies to come back. I know he's gone to Oxford now. Yeah. But
I also think as well, Dad, sorry to cut in there, I think we need a water cover. a centre defensive midfielder who's just a brick wall who just breaks up play. Because if Iwata goes down, who takes that break up play position?
And that may have happened because at the time this podcast goes out, the transfer window would have closed, wouldn't it?
Good point. Yeah.
So you know, we're recording this prior to me going away for a few days. So we've already mentioned that we're not going to be doing a transfer window podcast until I come back, and so by that point it's closed. So by the time this goes out, which will be on the Friday, the transfer window is always already closed. So actually, people will say, "What are you talking about, Matt? Because we've already signed this and that person." So we don't know at this point of recording what the final day of the transfer window brings. So
good point,
so it could make all our comments really relevant. I mean, I don't want to name anybody because we've done podcasts. Podcasts on what transfer targets before. I do agree with Vincente. He would be a great signing on the right. Raksaki as well. He potentially could be a good signing on the right. But I'm sure the Blues by the time this goes out would have already strengthened the team.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but for me, Dad, I think moving forward, just for my first 4 games, the big word that comes to my mind is creativity. So I'd like to see someone who can. What did you say in the post Leicester? Someone who can unlock Kyogo. Yeah. And get us a few more, goal scoring chances. Because at the minute, we're not creating enough in front of goal, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and, we will get there. It will click. It's not a disastrous statement, but I think we need a bit more of creativity moving forward.
Yeah, me too. So so that's it. Thanks very much for those questions and stories. Fantastic, to get those off you and to particularly the stories in terms of what your experiences are. And we will do these in the future as well. So we'll ask for more questions. So thank you very much for everybody who's contributed. So we hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. If you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already and you'd like to do that, then pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you'd like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll also find us on there. And you'll see the handles appearing on the screen for all of these channels right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you'd like to, then press that big red subscribe button. And if you want notifications every time we put a new podcast out, then there's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button. So hit that and that'll allow the notifications to come through to you. So that's it for this podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.